Well, it's a tough one to process, isn't it?
It really is.
Dame Maggie Smith,
Yeah.
passing at 89, a true icon, gone. But,
Yeah.
as we sort of mourn and reflect,
Yeah.
there's also this incredible body of work to celebrate.
Absolutely.
This deep dive, we're taking a look at this People.com article.
Okay.
And it's so much more than just like, oh, here's the dates. This really, it almost feels like we're settling in for an evening with a close friend, reminiscing about a life well lived.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this article so special. It's about understanding the woman behind those iconic roles.
Right.
The dedication that fueled a career that spanned, what, 7 decades?
Yeah.
It's incredible. We're talking about someone who started on stage at just 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
1952, in a production of Twelfth Night.
Can you imagine? I mean, at 18.
It really sets the stage, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Just stepping onto a stage, the nerves, the excitement. To think that was just the beginning for her. It feels like those early years in the theater, I mean, that really shaped her, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Back then, theater was the actor's training ground. It instilled a discipline, a nuance to her craft that you could see in every single performance.
Right.
It wasn't about instant fame. It was about honing your skills, understanding the subtleties of a character. And you can tell that foundation in theater is the bedrock of her career.
And what a career it was. I mean, 2 Academy Awards, but they weren't back-to-back, were they?
Yeah.
The prime of Miss Jean Brodie in 1969, and then California Suite almost a decade later.
Right.
It wasn't about chasing the spotlight. It feels like she was really drawn to those roles that truly challenged her.
Yes, and that's such a fascinating point to bring up, because you get the sense that she was incredibly deliberate about her choices.
Yeah.
Was it a particular director?
Right.
Was it the story?
Right.
These are the kinds of questions that make exploring a career like hers so fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. And we can't forget, I mean, this goes beyond film.
Right.
A Tony Award for Lettuce and Lovage in 1990, in that same year, Made a Dame by Queen Elizabeth II.
Incredible.
Mind-boggling, the impact she's had.
Absolutely. And, becoming a dame, that's not just about acting talent. It's about being recognized as a true icon, someone who has made an undeniable contribution to the arts. It's an incredible honor.
It really is. But you know what always gets me about Dame Maggie Smith? Even with all of the accolades, all of that prestige, she could still effortlessly charm an entirely new generation.
Yes.
With Harry Potter and Downton Abbey. It's incredible.
I know.
This ability to connect with audiences across generations.
She really could. And let's be honest, taking on those iconic roles, Professor McGonagall, Violet Crawley,
Right.
It would be so easy to just coast on that inherent authority she possesses. But she brought something so unique to each character, so perfectly Maggie Smith.
Right.
She had this way of inhabiting a role, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really breathing life into it.
When I think about those roles, that dry wit, that ability to just deliver a line with such perfect comedic timing.
Oh, the best.
It makes me think of this quote from her. She once said, "It's true, I don't tolerate fools, but then they don't tolerate me.
Right.
So I am spiky," she said. And then she follows it up with, "Maybe that's why I'm quite good at playing spiky elderly ladies."
Oh, classic.
I love that.
That's so Maggie Smith.
It is. It's so her.
That self-awareness, the ability to kind of poke fun at herself while also owning the persona, it's brilliant. But there's an interesting contrast there, isn't there?
Oh, is there?
Because as much as she seemed to relish those kind of spiky characters,
Yeah.
I remember reading the level of fame that came with Downton Abbey. It was actually quite overwhelming for her.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Really? Because she always seems so comfortable in her own skin, so self-assured.
I know. It just goes to show you there's always more to discover. Even with someone as seemingly well-known as Dame Maggie Smith, we see these glimpses of vulnerability in her roles, but it seems like she also fiercely guarded her private life.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the person behind the persona,
Right.
the sacrifices, the weight of expectations. And speaking of her personal life, the article does touch upon her family, her marriages.
Okay.
And it seems like those relationships had a really profound impact on her, even if she kept those details largely out of the public eye.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because while she was famously private,
Right.
you can see those echoes of her personal experiences kind of woven into her performances. The article mentions her 2 sons with actor Robert Stevens, their divorce, and then her subsequent marriage to playwright Beverly Cross.
Right.
These are major life events.
Of course.
Filled with joy, heartbreak, the challenges of raising a family, really, in the public eye.
Right.
It's no wonder that that sense of resilience, that comes through in so many of her roles.
It's like she really understood that full spectrum of human emotion.
Yes.
And wasn't afraid to bring that to her work. And there's this quote from her that really struck me.
Okay.
And it kind of speaks to that vulnerability you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about life after losing her second husband, Beverly. And she said, "After the busyness, you are more alone, much more. A day that is absolutely crowded keeps your mind away from why you are alone, but when it stops, there is that deafening silence."
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Those words, they stay with you.
They do. And it's a side of her that we so rarely saw publicly.
Mm.
This incredible strength, this sharp wit, but also this really profound understanding of loss, of solitude.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you realize that even someone who achieves such extraordinary things,
Yeah.
they still grapple with the same human experiences as the rest of us.
We do. We all do. It's that relatability that I think makes her so enduring, so captivating. And, talking about her career, spanning 7 decades,
I know.
from those early days on stage to The Miracle Club, which was released just this year.
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible stamina.
It really is.
Personally and professionally, what do you think fueled that drive, that commitment to her craft for so long?
It's remarkable. It speaks to a genuine love of the work, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't about chasing trends or courting the limelight. It was about constantly challenging herself, pushing the boundaries of her talent. She could have easily just rested on her laurels.
Oh, yeah.
But there's this insatiable curiosity.
Yeah.
This desire to kind of keep exploring, keep evolving. It really shines through.
It's like she was never content to just be comfortable.
Right.
She was always striving for something more, always looking for those roles that would challenge her, surprise her,
Yeah.
allow her to really connect with audiences in a meaningful way.
Yes, and let's not forget, a career that long.
Right.
It's not without its setbacks.
Right.
There were flops, there was criticism. I'm sure there were moments where she doubted herself.
Sure.
But she persevered, picked herself back up, and she kept going. It's that
Yeah.
resilience, that unwavering belief in herself and her craft that I find so inspiring.
It makes you think about those iconic Harry Potter and Downton Abbey roles, how they introduced her to a whole new generation.
Yes.
And those could have easily been just fun roles, like a victory lap.
Yeah.
But she brought such depth, such nuance,
Absolutely.
even to characters that honestly could have been one-dimensional.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what elevates her work, isn't it? That commitment to excellence, no matter what.
Right.
The size of the role, the scope of the project.
Yeah.
You think about Professor McGonagall, for instance.
Right.
She could have just been this stern, imposing figure.
Right.
But Maggie Smith brought a warmth, that dry wit, and ultimately, a deep sense of loyalty to that character.
Yeah.
She created a fan favorite,
Yeah.
Someone that audiences were rooting for,
Totally.
even in this world of wizards and magic.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is.
To think about how many people now have those characters and those performances so close to their heart.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me, for someone who was so famously private, those later career triumphs, those more mainstream projects,
All right.
it's almost like she became this reluctant icon.
Yes, and even that term icon seemed to kind of amuse her.
Right.
There's that quote where she talks about being called a national treasure, and she jokes about being, a rather dusty one at that.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's nothing dusty about her legacy.
Yeah.
We so much more than just this celebrated figure. She was a force of nature.
Absolutely. And I think that's why she continues to resonate with people of all ages.
Totally.
She was brilliant. She was witty. She could be absolutely cutting just with a look.
Well, the best.
But there was always this underlying humanity,
Yes.
this vulnerability to her that made her so relatable.
Absolutely.
You really felt like you knew her, even if you never even met her.
100%. It was that depth of understanding.
Right.
That ability to convey the full range of human emotions. That's what made her such a captivating actress.
Mm-hmm.
She could make you laugh one minute and bring you to tears the next. And she did it all with such effortlessness, such grace.
Oh, she was one of a kind, that's for sure.
She was.
So as we sort of reflect on this life, this legacy of Dame Maggie Smith, what do you think is the most important thing we can take away from her journey? What can her story really teach us? Not just about acting,
Mhm.
but about life itself.
That's such a great question.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it goes back to that unwavering commitment,
Okay.
that dedication to her craft.
Right.
She never stopped learning, never stopped growing, never stopped pushing herself to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a powerful lesson for all of us,
Yeah.
no matter what our chosen field is.
It's about finding that thing that sets you on fire.
Yes.
That thing that you're, willing to pour your heart and soul into and never letting go of that passion, even when it's really tough.
Exactly. And I think Dame Maggie Smith, through her incredible body of work,
Mm-hmm.
through her own words even, she reminds us that it's never too late to pursue our passions, to challenge ourselves, to embrace the journey,
Yeah.
and to find joy in the work,
Yes.
in the work itself.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And so we say goodbye to a legend,
We do.
but we're left with this incredible treasure trove of performances to revisit, to cherish,
Yes.
to learn from.
Absolutely.
And I think a question, maybe for you, our listener, to ponder: what Maggie Smith role really resonated with you and why? What facet of her remarkable journey spoke to you?
What a beautiful question.
What a wonderful way to sort of end our deep dive today. Thank you for spending this time with us. And until next time, keep seeking those stories, those moments, those individuals that ignite your curiosity and remind us of the power of human connection.